Okay, so I'm Juliette Duizabo, head of data at Photoroom. And when I joined 6 months ago, we didn't use AI to consume data. Now, everybody in the company can get an answer in under 1 minute, and I'm going to show you how AI enabled that. So first, what's Photoroom? Photoroom is a French startup that was founded in 2019 on a very simple idea that anyone should be able to create stunning photos in seconds. And so today we're the global leader in AI-powered image editing, and we've been downloaded over 300 million times. And so the idea is that we help anybody from Etsy resellers to Fortune 500 companies create stunning photos that sell. We're 3 people in the data team. There's Maxime, Charlotte, and myself. And we're responsible for both business intelligence and product analytics. So it's 3 people for over 100 employees. So it means we really cannot be the bottleneck. And we have to make sure that we create the foundations that allow people to help themselves with data. And so for this, we have to make sure that the data is accessible, anyone can get it and knows how to get it, that it's actionable, they know what to do with it once they have the data, and finally, that they're aligned and that they are all looking at the same truth. So I'm going to show you how AI did that for us. But first, here's our data stack. It's a very classic modern data stack. We have sources, we have an ETL, which is Airbyte. Our central data platform is Snowflake. We use dbt for our transformations. We have a reverse ETL to send data back to the tools. And our BI and self-service tool is Omni. So it really looks like a very classic stack that anyone can have. And now I'm starting to actually talk about accessibility. So what is accessibility? It means that data is within reach for every decision maker and not just analysts. Okay, so we agree that accessing data should be low effort. Anyone should be able to do it. But in a pre-AI world, the problem was people needed to know how to use the tool. So it means you need to have training, etc. You also needed to know which data set to use. And honestly, it was a big step to take for many people. And so many people just gave up because it was not worth the hassle. With AI in Omni, you simply need to ask your question and you get your answer. So here's an example. This is a screenshot of me asking a question to the AI assistant. So the question is, show me the active subscriptions by month, split by plan interval between 2022 and 2023. I don't need to have any knowledge of how to use the tool. I don't need to know where the data is. I just ask my question, and I get this answer in about 20 seconds. So that's super nice, because anyone can do it. And that's not all. If you scroll down a little bit, you also have the explanation of this. And so it means that data is accessible not only in terms of it's easy to reach, but it's also easy to understand. And at Photoroom, we always like to push things a little bit further. So we don't just want anybody to be able to ask any question in under 1 minute. We also want them to do it from anywhere. And this is how, this is when the Omni MCP arrives. So the MCP is a model context protocol. It allows to get tools to query Omni to LLMs. And we can use it from any MCP client, like Claude. We can also use it from Slack. And that's super important because it means that the data is accessible when you need it and where you need it. So here's an example. So imagine you're working in Claude Desktop and you're asking questions. You can really have a conversation saying, okay, show me this, show me that. If you're in Slack, someone asks you a question, what's our top performing channel? You just ask the question in Slack and you get the data point right there where you're working without disrupting your workflow. So this is really accessibility at the max. And then we found a little hack. So Omni has, of course, a website. When you go on the website, you can add the icon as a home screen icon. And so we all have a shortcut on our screen that allows us to have the AI assistant in our pocket. And literally, we can pull out our phone, ask the question, and get an answer in 30 seconds. So that's very nice. This is a real-time video. The length is 25 seconds, sorry. And you just get access to your AI assistant anywhere with you. Okay, so as a summary, accessibility means that everybody can get an answer to any question from anywhere in under 1 minute. Okay, now on to actionability. So what I mean by actionability is it's not just about showing numbers, but it's telling you what they mean and what to do next. So it's really the bridge between decisions and data. Okay, what does it mean in practice? It means that we go from this kind of tables. This is a very good table. The data is reliable, it's well documented, it's tested, but it's still a table. And we go from this to a summary that goes with recommendations. And how we do it, it's just that instead of selecting a chart as a representation, we selected an AI summary. We added a little prompt, like you're my assistant, help me determine what I should keep investing on or not. And then we have like easy recommendations that we can follow. They're super actionable, they're customized to what we need, and we just need to read it to know what to do. How we do it at Photoroom? So the data team is responsible of only part of it. We have the role to centralize the data. We transform it and we make sure that it's very reliable and very robust. And then we prepare topics in Omni. And topics are basically semantic models. But then the business teams themselves decide how to use the data and how they will leverage it. So it means that we have created a topic, but then people in the teams directly prompt the table and they prompt the data to ask what they actually need. So an example is this, which is an API usage summary. So we have sales who have a list of prospects, and those prospects use the API. Each sales needs to know who are the top users and who are the declining users, because potentially there's an upsell to do, or we can just keep clients who are churning. And so this sales has prompted the topic to show the top 3 accounts and the top accounts at risks. He has also scheduled a delivery in Slack, so he receives this message every Monday. And what's nice is if tomorrow he has new concerns, he can just change the prompt because we have prepared the data, it's here, and just he needs to just question the data as a human would do. And so, yes, we do the refinement, they do the actual actionability, and I'm going to use this like this, I'm going to need this kind of recommendation. And what is super nice for the data team is that it saves a ton of time because we don't have to explain the data anymore. We don't have to say, it means this, or we don't need to change a little bit the report because now they don't want it over the past 7 days, but past 30 days. The data is available and they prompt it to their needs. Okay. The last pillar is alignment. And alignment means that we operate from one source of truth with shared definitions and consistent communications. So we have no discrepancies and we don't need translation. And so for this, we have one big principle, which is that the semantic layer is the single source of truth. Okay, and now what I mean by semantic layer is actually 2 things. Part of it lives in dbt, and part of it lives in Omni. So dbt is where we transform the data. And so in dbt, we have model definitions, and we also have column definitions. And we have a rule, 100% coverage of documentation. It's not allowed to merge a PR if you don't have 100% documentation. In Omni, we have topic and views, and I'll come back to it. We have calculated metrics, and we also have color coding, which is my favorite, and I keep it for the end. What's important to understand is that the semantic layer, it's actually YAML files, so it's only text. And we know that it's going to be consumed by LLMs, so it needs to be accurate, reliable, clean, unambiguous, because LLM is going to consume it. So it's really AI documentation as culture. we cannot live with ambiguity because then we risk the LLM to misinterpret. So how we do it? In DBT, we have a very good way of enforcing the single source of truth. First, we have the dry principle. So every definition lives in definitions.md, which is a markdown file. And so it means that every concept we manipulate at Photoroom is actually listed here with a definition. So this is a super good source of truth for the company. We also use a package which is called dbt datadict. And what this does is it says for every column name where it appears. So those are all the models it appears in and what are the descriptions used. If you have 2 descriptions, then you will have 2 lines of description. This is not tolerated at Photoroom. You cannot merge a PR if you introduce a second definition. If you need a second definition, then you don't use a name that's already taken. You use another name. So we remove any ambiguity. If source is already taken, we'll just choose another name. And then every YAML file, so every table has its own YAML. Every YAML file looks like this. It just refers to the central documentation. And if you have a column name, its entry in definitions.md is exactly the same name. And so thanks to this, we make sure that every notion is documented in one file. Every notion has only one definition. And so we perfectly align the company without ambiguous definitions. Now, for what's happening in Omni, we have topic and views. And so let's start with topics. So topics are really the basis of the semantic layer. So for many people who don't use the semantic layer, it might sound like super futuristic. This is a topic. It's a 10-line text file. It's really not crazy. And what it does is mainly 2 things. The first one is on row 1. Base view, it says which view it uses. And a view refers to a table. And then it adds AI context. And this is super nice because it tells the LLM context about when to use this topic, when to refer to it. So we just give use this topic whenever the user asks questions about user acquisition, etc. Other keywords might be installs, campaign performance, etc. So the LLM knows that when we ask this kind of question, the answer is in this topic. And also what's nice is the full company has the same semantic layer, so we are aligned in the way we consume data. Then we have views, and views, they're composed of 2 things. The first one is dimensions. Those come directly from the data warehouse, and typically those are the columns from DBT. These definitions, we actually wrote them in DBT, and they're just ingested by Omni. And then we have measures. So measures, they are rules for calculating columns. And what's important is those have to be done on the fly because your measure might change depending on your filters or on the time you choose. So it has to be done last minute. And you see you have sums as aggregate types, but you can also have formulas. And this is nice because this used to be the kind of things that we had to define in every chart before. And so we risked having discrepancies. And now we don't have this risk anymore because everything is centralized in the files. Okay, and then my favorite part. Electrical wires have specific colors, and each color codes for a function. So you know that this one brings electricity, this one returns electricity, and this one is the safety one. So it means that by looking at the wires, you know what they mean. We want the same thing in Omni. So what I want is when I look at a chart, I want to know what it talks about because I recognize the color code. And so we did it. And we did it because it simplifies the understanding and it also aligns reportings. So we know that from one team to another, we always have the same way of looking at metrics, even in their representations. And so for this in Omni, it's actually quite simple. You can create a templated view. So it's a view that has template is true. And you say, when the column has this name, if it has this value, so the value week, the color should be this hex code. Okay, quite easy. Then you just refer to this template in the view files. And then every chart that is created calling this column will have the right colors. And this is super, super important because when I look at a dashboard, I know that those 3 blues, it means it's about plan intervals. And I know that the tropical colors it means that I'm looking at market segment. So it's super important for company alignment. We have the same way of reporting data, and visually you carry a lot of information, and this is controlled in the semantic layer. Okay, now for the last part, how we got there. Okay, I have 5 minutes. We started with a classic modern data stack, and we knew we wanted people to be able to ask questions in natural language. That was the main constraint. So we decided to pick Omni. Okay, the first step was to just plug Omni on Snowflake. Then we looked at our BI tool and we said, okay, those are the top 7 dashboards that our users consume, so let's do them. We said, okay, if we want to recreate these dashboards in Omni, we'll have to create these topics and these views. And once they were created, we just created the dashboards and we removed the BI tool. So really, it's not a complicated process. You just have to follow a method, but it's really not so hard to do. Especially since at Photoroom, we have 4 values, but one of them is ship fast to learn. So we have to ship as fast as possible. So we make simplistic choices, and we decided indeed to have a simplistic modeling approach where when we have one model in dbt, we have one view in Omni and one topic in Omni. We could have several views per topic, several topics per view, but we decided on something simple because we wanted to ship fast. And then we also decided to start small. We only had 7 dashboards when we opened Omni to everybody. And then as people were asking us, we added new dashboards. And just to give you an order of magnitude, we signed the contract with Omni on the 15th of July. And on the 1st of September, Omni was given access to, every employee at Photoroom was given access to Omni. Okay, of course, adoption is not totally spontaneous, so we accompany adoption with trainings. We have an open Slack channel where people can ask questions. We host office hours every week. We are always on the lookout for new use cases that we can do in Omni. We communicate regularly at all hands meetings. We have champions in teams. We give shout-outs in Slack to show people what others did that was cool, and we monitor adoption. Okay. And as a conclusion, what are the consequences on data consumption and on the organization? So the first consequence is that everybody becomes an analyst. And this is something that I truly believe. If you're able to ask yourself a question, you're an analyst. We also have a reduced time to insights with high data consistency. So it's very nice because when you have a question, 1 minute after you have an answer. When we used to have data analysts that did analysis for teams, now they can focus on more strategic initiatives, so they have more leverage. And also, there is something that's super important, it's that every question is worth asking, because there's no one to say, you should know this, or you're not afraid to bother them, etc. I mean, you have your own AI assistant, so just ask them every question you have. So as a consequence, you have more reflex of consuming data. And here's a Slack message. First time I'm using Omni AI Assistant, it was faster, easier to get my answer than going through the Stripe dashboard. So yes, it does accelerate time to insight. And finally, the consequences on the company and the organization itself. So of course, it's super cost efficient because AI handles routine questions. So we need to create fewer custom reports. So we have less human time dedicated to ad hoc questions. We have an elastic scale. AI scales instantly with demand. There's no staffing bottleneck. So if a team grows, we don't need to grow as much the data team. And it also allows for faster decision cycles. Then it creates organizational alignment because we all speak the same language. We all have the same semantic layer. And it reduces the risk of misinterpretation. And finally, it gives a higher leverage per analyst, where analysts can focus on judgment, not on query building, and they can also focus on building a robust source of truth for the company. Thank you.